My name's Rich, this is me, my bike and I, and this is my old Honda VF750F engine. She's a 1984, or it's bits of it anyway. I've been busy cleaning all the paint off, the horrible nasty paint that was on it, house wood gloss, some sort of, and so I've done all the side covers and rocker covers, sprocket cover, etc. I've just worked on the cylinder heads, they're all looking good. Got to do the crankcases. I'm not going to completely strip those of paint, I'm just going to key those up and get rid of the corrosion that's on the upper case. But what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to get to work on these cylinder heads and lap the valves in, because I want to do that before I mask them up and paint them, just so I can give them a final wash without damaging any nice new paint. So let's get to it. So these are looking pretty good. They're as clean as they're going to be, and they'll certainly do better for another final wash, but they've been through my homemade part washer numerous times, and the surfaces I've cleaned up with a sanding block. As you can see, it looks like there's a lot of rubbish left on there, but it is just pretty much staining, a little like anodization. You can't get a fingernail behind anything on these surfaces. So they're pretty much all ready now. They just need a final wash, and then I can mask everything up and get them ready for paint. But what I am going to do is lap the valves in, because I'd rather do that now, so that I can then just run them through my parts washer again and get rid of any grinding paste before I paint them all up, because that saves me damaging any of the nice new paint that's on there. Yeah, but there's just far too much paint on here to strip off, so I'm just going to key it and paint over it. That actually isn't really corrosion, it's just worn away paint, bit of a mixture probably. Go over it with a wire brush, etc. But I'm just going to key the whole case ready for painting. This is just the V of the top case, so obviously water sits in there over decades, and that's what happens. Right, got to be really careful what I'm doing here. As you can see, I've got my box of valve gear, if you like. So inside are all the valve seats, springs, rockers, collets, the actual valves and stems themselves. And of course, because I've got everything upside down, everything's in reverse. So what we've actually got here is, so this one here will be the number one exhaust. That will be the number one exhaust just on the inside. And as this is upside down, that one there is number one exhaust on the outside. That's number one exhaust on the inside. So I've just got to be really careful which one I'm lapping in to which. So if I take the correct valve, pop it in there, and you can just listen to the sound as it hits the seat. A little bit zingy, but definitely a dull thud. And what we need is a bit of a ching noise. So let's give the valve a clean. Okay, I'm just using the gentlest of brass brushes. That just really knocks away any carbon sort of lumps really, and it's already looking a lot better. But if you just use a soft brass brush, you will do this absolutely no harm whatsoever. You know, the fact that you need grinding paste to change any of the dimensions should really tell you that you're not going to do it any harm with any kind of wire brush, particularly a brass one. So we're going to put a little bit of grinding paste on there, and then we're just going to go and get our little hand tool to give it a few little spins, and then we can listen to the difference on the little drop test. Tools at the ready. I'm just going to go in with a little bit of fine and manually lap it. So I'm going to drop it in. And stick me little sucker on. I'll just give it a few manual twists backwards and forwards. That should be enough. So let's take that off. Okay, so I'm going to lift that valve back out and give it a clean. So I just need to clean all the paste off of it and wipe around. You really don't want this stuff getting into the engine. Wash it as good as you can, you should be fine. People have been doing this for decades and decades and decades, so certainly going to be better than when it started. To be fair, that seat wasn't looking too bad. You can see this one isn't looking too bad. That one's got a bit of carbon build up on it. Haven't got to that one yet, of course. That seems to have cleaned up nicely. You can still see that needs a little bit of work. Sounding a little better, but we need to give it a bit more work. I think let's get some more paste on that. Right, I've popped some coarse paste on there. Let's just give that a little bit of a well, that sounds raunchy now, doesn't it? I think that's looking quite reasonable now, so let's listen to how it sounds compared to its neighbour. So if we have a look at the other valve alongside, actually, before we even listen to it, you can see that the valve seat is a lot more carbonised, and so is the actual valve itself. So if I drop this one in, you can see the guide. And if I drop this one in, I'll just give it a little can you hear that's a lot duller? Some will be worse than others, but that's essentially what you're trying to get to, that sort of ching ching noise as opposed to that little thud thud noise. So I'm going to get to work on finishing these, and we'll stop along the way when I find a few that are really bad. Okay, that's the rear cylinder head all cleaned up and the valves lap back in, so this one's good to go. We'll just wire wheel out all those ports though, I'm still looking a bit grotty. This is the number 4 intake. It's looking pretty grotty on the back, but the actual seat itself isn't too bad. All of the intakes look pretty poor actually on the back, quite a lot of carbon build up. Just literally just dip the edge in. It's not easy to do this anyway, but making a mess really, you just have to clean up really well after it yourself. So, okay, the intake ones are a little bit easier because they're obviously bigger and the little suction pad sticks better. So you can just hear it a little less raunchy as the grinding progresses. Okay, so cleaned everything up thoroughly. Still going to have grit in there, which is why it needs a good wash, but sounds all nice. Okay, going to do the number 2 cylinder intake now. That's just this one here. Well, these two. And this was the cylinder that had, had the really poor compression. So the valve seat doesn't look too bad, but let's give this one a go. The valve looks okay. I think it was more of a head gasket issue than anything, to be honest. Doesn't sound too bad, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, let's get a little bit of fine grit on it. Just a little dab on the edge. Drop it back in. Yeah, despite this cylinder's issues, really not thinking it's got anything to do with the valves, and these look to be some of the best on both cylinder heads. So feels quite snug actually, which says there's not a lot of wear. Seems to be okay. Right, so that's all the intakes done on the front cylinder on number 2, the problem, and number 4. So finally then we are getting to the exhausts on number 2 and 4. Well, they do look a little bit grotty, to be fair. So yeah, maybe we can make some improvements here. The valve itself doesn't look too bad. I'll just give that a little wire wheel. And let's slot it in, see how it sounds. Yeah, pretty much. Same as all the others, really. Right, stick a little bit of coarse paste on that. Just on the tips. Edges, what you want to call it. Okay, that's not carbon, it's meant to be that colour. Okay, we'll go back in with fine. Drop that back in. Can you hear the note change? And then you reposition it. This is why some people put it on a drill and do it, because it's easier work. Okay. It's definitely looking in good shape. Not perfect, but passable. So I think you can see the one on the right is a lot cleaner than the one on the left now. So that's what the lapping does. It essentially restores the surface back and improves your compression. And we should be able to get this one looking a lot better. And the mating surface on that is really black. I'll tell you what, the fine paste is definitely easier to work with. If you clean the surface of your plunger and wet it, it definitely gives you a better grip, suction rather. Much more like it. That'll do. There you go. Well, that is looking a lot better. Well, that's it for this video. I just wanted to show you me doing the valve lapping on all 16 valves. Quite a lot of work if you've got that many to do, but it's quite therapeutic, so that's okay. I just need to give these a final wash to get any grinding paste out of them, and then they are pretty much ready for paint. I've got to do the crankcases, the upper and lower, get a bit of corrosion off those, key them, and I just need to give the side covers, rockers, another quick wash as well. Once I've done that, I've got pretty much everything then in place to start masking up, and we can start getting some of these painted and ready to put back together. That'll be in the next video. Thanks for watching this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and I will see you next time.